US President Joe Biden has signed legislation which would see TikTok banned in the country.
Now, this came after a bill passed both houses with bipartisan support, forcing the Chinese-owned platform to either be sold or banned within a year.
And pressure is, as we know now, mounting on Albanese to do the same. But previously, he hasn't been so keen to follow suit.
We're independent. We don't follow other countries. What we do is we make decisions based on our security assessments.
Well, chief among those calling for the Aussie ban is Senator James Patterson. He's been leading the charge, absolutely grilling TikTok staff in Senate committee hearings on foreign interference. Have a look.
You can't, on the one hand, say we've got these really robust processes and we track and log everything, and then also not be able to tell me how often it's been accessed. They both can't be true. Either you can't tell me because you don't know, or you do know and you're refusing to tell me. How often has Australian user data been accessed by mainland China employees?
I don't have specific numbers in front of me. I'd be happy to take that on notice.
And Shadow Minister for Home Affairs and Cybersecurity and Liberal Senator for Victoria, James Patterson, joins us now. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this evening, Senator. Look, TikTok's Australian boss, Brett Armstrong, this week defended the platform. He did an interview with the Australian Financial Review and he's pointed to TikTok's contribution to local businesses and jobs. But he specifically said, though, that there is no evidence of any concerns. What do you say to that?
It's great to be with you, Danica, and James. Really good to be on your program tonight. Spoiler alert, that question that I asked them, they took on notice, they didn't answer. They never came back with how many times Australian user data was accessed in China, and that goes to the core of the national security challenges posed by an app like TikTok. It's the reason why, on the advice of our national security agencies, it's already been banned from every government employee's phone. It cannot be downloaded on a government employee's phone, and that is because it is an espionage risk to those individual users. But that's not the only danger. The other danger is the danger of foreign interference that it poses. Because its algorithm is non-transparent and because every user is having their own unique experience, the Chinese government can direct TikTok to pump our society full of disinformation, full of propaganda that is sympathetic to the Chinese Communist Party's interests, and also to suppress content that's critical of the Chinese Communist Party. And they've been exposed to doing so multiple times in the past. So Australia can't wait. We can't be left behind. We have to follow the United States and also legislate to try and make TikTok safer by divesting it from ByteDance and removing the Chinese Communist Party's control over the app.
Senator, as concerning as TikTok is, we learned today that a state-sponsored hacking group called Volt Typhoon is targeting our critical infrastructure. I've read a little bit about this, and this to me seems like a much bigger issue than TikTok. Can you explain to viewers exactly what's happening and why this is a problem? Volt Typhoon.
You're right, James. Yeah, you're absolutely right, James. This is also a very, very serious issue. There is no innocent reason why a state-backed hacking group would be targeting civilian infrastructure, things like the power network, water, gas and other utilities. There's no reason why they would not need to be trying to establish a presence on those networks except for one purpose, and that's sabotage, to be activated at a time of choosing of the government that sponsors them. Now, Volt Typhoon is, we read in media reports, a Chinese government-sponsored attacker, and they have been, again, in those media reports, allegedly seeking a presence on Australian networks, trying to penetrate those networks. It's previously been publicly assessed that they've been on US networks, both in Guam and in the United States mainland, and this is very malicious behaviour. It's not the behaviour of a friend. It needs to be called out, and industry really needs to step up and root this stuff out of their systems. Otherwise, it will be used against us in a time of crisis, a strategic crisis, a security crisis, even an environmental crisis. These presences on our networks could be activated to shut down those networks and cause us to descend into chaos and disorder.
So I've got to ask you this then, why is that not considered an act of war? You've got a foreign nation hacking into our critical infrastructure in order to create a circumstance where they could close it down in a moment. How's that not an act of war?
It's an excellent question, and military strategists don't agree what crosses a threshold in the cyber realm from normal peacetime activities into war. But I think if you did cross the threshold into causing very serious physical real-world harm by shutting down an electricity network or a water network and all the spillover effects that would have, then we would have to regard that very seriously. And we should take already seriously the fact that there's unprecedented levels of espionage and state-backed intellectual property theft being sponsored by the Chinese government, which has been publicly assessed by Mike Burgess, the Director General of ASIO. That's bad enough already. I think we need to recognise this is not a normal diplomatic relationship. This is not something that friends do to each other. And when it happens, we need to call it out and counteract it.
Absolutely. This is not a normal relationship. You know, we talk about the relationship apparently thawing. This is not normal.
It's
correct. Now, Senator, you would have earlier seen we played a vision of children chanting Intifada and other anti-Israeli slogans at a so-called encampment of Palestine supporters at the University of Sydney. How do you feel about that vision?
Well, thankfully, things on Australian university campuses are not quite as bad as they are on American university campuses. But if you wonder how it got so bad at American university campuses, look at what happened at Sydney University today, where young children were indoctrinated in, frankly, in my view, incredibly hateful slogans against Israel and the Jewish people. I mean, for what purpose is there to have 5-year-olds chanting about Intifada, which is a terrorist campaign, or From the River to the Sea, which is to wipe out the modern state of Israel between the River Jordan and the Mediterranean Sea? Although I suspect that the toddlers aren't quite up on their geography, and you ask them if it was the Red Sea or the Mediterranean Sea or the Euphrates River or the Jordan River, they wouldn't be able to tell you. But they are being told that you need to hate Israel, and by extension, many of them will feel that you need to hate the Jewish community, and that's very distressing. Let's remember that these are universities that have set up safe spaces, that are protecting students from microaggressions, that think there's nothing more important than protecting people from being harmed by words, not just actions, and yet they tolerate this. They tolerate this on their campuses. Imagine if any other group in our society, any other minority group in our society was targeted in the way the Jewish community is being targeted right now. Imagine if there was a protest against the Asian Australian community. Imagine if there were protests against the LGBTI community. How long do you think a university would permit this kind of thing to happen, and how quickly do you think they would shut it down if it was a different group?
Yeah, it's a nothing to see attitude, unfortunately, when it comes to Jewish Australians. It's absolutely appalling.
Yeah, Senator James Patterson, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate you.